Hold on, Sal. Okay, Sal.
7:30.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment of the Township of Union, which is being held pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Law, C-231, Laws of New Jersey, dated 1975. Notice of this meeting was advertised in the local source and/or the Star Ledger, the two newspapers of record, and notice has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building adjacent to the municipal clerk's office. Roll call.
Mr. Wiley.
Here.
Ms. Martins.
Here.
Mr. Bentavegina.
Present.
Ms. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. McNeil.
Present.
Mr. Graves. Ms. Ricketts is absent. Mr. Champion.
Here. There being a quorum present, this meeting is now declared open. Are there any communications at this time?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I received communications today from Javerbaum Wargaff, Steve Hale's office regarding calendar number 3431, and council will address it once we call it.
Thank you. Okay, our first order of business then will be calendar number 3431, Ukrainian Evangelical Assemblies of God, DBA, Living World Church, located at 2208 Stanley Terrace, Block 5504, Lots 17, 18, and 2201. Applicant wishes overnight truck parking, which is not permitted use in the CI zone. Mr. Merman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the correspondence from Mr. Hale indicates, we're requesting an adjournment of this matter with no date. Obviously, we understand that means that we're going to have to re-advertise the next time that this matter comes forward. The adjournment basically is being requested based upon the input that we have seen from the public, from the board, as well as our discussions with staff. And we want to go in and we want to revise our presentation, deal with some of the issues that we know that have been troublesome, and we didn't want to create another situation where we had a full room and then just come in and wind up requesting the adjournment. So we've done it this way, and we would hope that the board would just grant that adjournment. And as I said, we are aware that we're going to need to renotice.
Yes,
Thank
for the record, Mr. Chairman, Rob Pansul, the Board Attorney. I did, the communication referenced by the Board Secretary is of today's date, addressed to the Board. It's from Mr. Hale. He references the conclusion of the last hearing where I suggested that the matter be held in abeyance because there were some legal issues associated with the permissiveness of the use of trucks in the zone. So it really has opened some intriguing discussions amongst our offices. And I think it's a cooperative effort, so I think it's a legitimate request. I think it should be recognized. They have waived any time constraints to confront the board to act, so that's legally protects us. That's what I look for. So I think a motion and a second, unless anyone has any questions or concerns about the request, a motion and a second, and an all in favor who are eligible could vote to carry it without date.
Any questions from any board members? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn without date for calendar number 3431, Ukrainian Evangelical Assemblies of God?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn without notice for calendar number
So with
3431.
notice, with notice.
With notice.
With notice.
It's with notice? Excuse me.
Yeah, without a new date yet. They're going to renotice.
Excuse me, all right.
Okay.
To adjourn with notice, there's going to be calendar 3431, Ukrainian Evangelical Assemblies of God, doing business as Living World Church, 2208 Stanley Terrace, Block 5504, Lots 17, 18, and 2201.
Second motion.
Council, do we need a roll call? Or all in favor?
Said yes.
All in favor is fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
For the public's benefit, if anybody's here for the Ukraine church matter, it will not be continued tonight. There will be new notices going out, both in the 200-foot mailing list as well as published in the newspaper, and you always could coordinate with the building department for any updated details regarding that application.
Okay, our next order of business is calendar number 3437, Janetta Presley, located at 2271 Morrison Avenue, Block 5107, Lot 58. Applicant wishes to erect an 8-foot fence. It'll be carried for resolution. At this time, are there any board members? You've all had a chance to read the resolution. At this time, are there any board members that would like to make changes, comments, or modifications to the resolution as written? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I move that this board adopt the resolution as read and modified as accurately memorialized in the previous findings of this board.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Ms. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Pentafagina?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. McNeil?
Yes.
Mr. Graves?
Yes.
Mr. Champion?
Yes. Our next order of business is calendar number 3438, Jeb Foods LLC, located at 332 Indiana Street, Block 5808, lots 52 and 54. Applicant wishes to upgrade and repair conjoined garages and subdivide the lots. Mr. Merman.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Stephen H. Merman of the law firm of Javerbaum, Wargaft, Hicks, Kahn, Wickstrom, and Simmons, appearing on behalf of the applicant. Appreciate the board's time this evening. It's a very difficult night, being 9/11, and we all have gone through a lot over the last several years. As I was actually driving in, I saw something very interesting tonight, and I saw a shadow of what looked like one of those spacecraft that's up there right now, right around the moon. And so 9/11 is a difficult day, and I appreciate the fact that you all have come out to give us your time for this application. It's a very nice application, one that is very unique. And it's unique because of the location of the site. It's unique because of when our client purchased the site, these two garages that are next to each other have been conjoined. The property line goes right through the middle of those two buildings right now, so it's two garages. Our client has been operating there for some time, and we'll have Mr. Ben Eros from Jeb Foods come forward in a few minutes to describe what goes on the site. Because of the site being right there in a residential neighborhood, but it's on the cusp of it, there are actually two uses on the site right now. The first being a bakery. It was a convenience store right on the corner. We're going to move the lot line so that it's no longer right between the buildings, so that, in fact, the convenience store bakery site is going to have two parking spots dedicated to that use. Right now, there's no parking that's dedicated to that. It's all on-street parking. So we'll have some parking added to that. Also, we're proposing this to become a mixed-use building, and there is sufficient parking in the parking lot that will handle both the commercial use as it currently exists, as well as the additional residential uses. So without further ado, I'd like to call my first witness, Mr. Ben Eros.
Yes, for the record, Mr. Chairman, board members, and council, Rob Pansul, the board attorney, I did mark A1, the application as it was submitted. A2 is the site plan from EKA Associates. Consists of 7 sheets, the seventh sheet being a survey, one-page survey, 6-page site plan. And A3 are the architectural plans as submitted, consisting of 2 sheets. So we're A1 through A3 for the record. And I do note the departmental comments, including the August 6th, 2024 communication from Colliers Engineering. So that we have as part of the record. Can I ask the witness to raise your hand and swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
And for the record, could you state and spell your name with your business affiliation?
Benjamin Arrow, Benjamin. Last name Arrow, E-R-O.
And you're the representative of the applicant?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's start with that question. What's your position with Jeb Foods?
I'm the owner.
How long has Jeb Foods been in in business?
Since 2016, I would say 6 years.
And
Sorry, 8 years.
8 years. Has Jeb Foods ever operated any other location than the one that we're talking about today?
No.
And could you tell the board succinctly, as you can, what Jeb Foods does? What do you do?
We import specialty food products from West Africa, gluten-free flours, and we sell them wholesale. We primarily do wholesale and also internet sales of our products.
So while there are sales going on, there are no retail sales going on the property, is
No.
that correct?
No.
When you say you import the products, how do those products arrive at the site?
They come in a container. Most times once every 3-4 months. We got a container load. We offload them within 2-3 hours, and they come and they leave.
Now, with regard to the sales, how do the products leave the site?
They are picked up by trucks.
So are those
They are
box trucks?
They are palletized because we do wholesale, and they are picked up by trucks.
But how often are there pickups or outgoing orders at the site?
For wholesale, very few. Say maybe once every 2 weeks. Well, for retail, which are smaller packs, 4-pound bags, those are picked up almost every day by UPS. Or
UPS?
USPS.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't have any of your own trucks? There's no trucks that are stored on the property? These trucks are all transient?
No.
Are there any vehicles associated with the business that are stored on the site overnight? Obviously, you have your own personal vehicle, I'm not talking about that, but as far as trucks or other delivery, nothing's kept overnight, right?
No.
Okay. How many employees are employed at this site?
Myself, just myself.
When you have the pallets and the trucks come in, that's got to be hard on you to do that just by yourself. Do you have any help?
Yeah, I get, how do you call them? Manual laborers. I go to Springfield, there's a place on Springfield that picks up some manual laborers for that day.
So day laborers.
Yeah, I just pay them a daily rate, and they help me offload.
So as far as the operation, day-to-day operations of your site, could you tell the board, give the board the benefit of hours of operation?
Between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday,
And for the majority of the time, it's only you on the site?
yes.
The current site, can you explain to the board why you're here for the upgrade of your site?
The garages are falling apart. The foundations are all messed up. And so I'm trying to renovate them and give it a better, better look for the community.
Right.
And just make it safer. It's in a really terrible state.
So there's a second part of this application, and that is with regard to mixed use for the residential uses. Could you tell the board why you have decided to seek these additional uses for the property?
No, I just figured since I'm going to be renovating it, might as well create a residential aspect to it. The whole area is zoned for residential, and I've always, it has always been an issue that I have a business there, even though I was grandfathered in. So I felt if I put a bit of residential in there, that might help out a little bit, that might, change the narrative a little bit. So it doesn't look like people look at my building and say, it's a business, have some residential in there also.
And other than the movement of the lot line, there's going to be no renovations or improvements are proposed relative to the existing.
Say that one more time?
There are no improvements proposed for the existing building on the corner that currently houses the bakery. Is that correct?
You mean 90 Laurel?
90 Laurel, we are not proposing any improvements to
no,
that
we're not.
property. The only thing that is being proposed is the lot line adjustment.
On 350 Indiana, yes.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman. Certainly reserve my right to ask additional questions based upon questions from the board or the public of my client witness.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Arrow's testimony?
Yes,
Here-
Mr.
oh.
Chairman. When this container comes and drops off the product every 3 months, you said, where does it usually park, on Laurel or on Indiana?
Say that one more time.
When the container comes and drops off your product, where does it usually park, on Laurel?
It parks in my parking lot,
In your parking lot?
yeah.
Any other board questions?
You have a question, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Al, can you explain to the board, what type of products do you sell out of there? What, are they dry food? What type of products come in?
Like I said, they're specialty food products, gluten-free. We kind of moved towards healthy food products, and we're trying to create a healthy, the whole thing started with us trying to create health-conscious food products for our community. I kind of went bigger, and so we wanted products that were not genetically modified or had some health issues with them. We wanted to create products that were, like the cassava flour, for instance, is 100% gluten-free, grain-free. So anyone that has celiac disease can substitute cassava flour for their wheat flour. So that's kind of our primary product. Nigeria, where we're bringing from, is the highest producer of cassava flour in the world. So we're using that to also help the economy in Nigeria by being off the cuff their cassava, and also help the economy here and help the community here by making it available for them.
My next question, is there any baking done on premises?
On our end,
Yes.
no.
Go further.
We sell them in 50-pound bags. The retail bags are 4-pound bags, which we send to customers.
Are there any other board members that would like to question this witness?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a follow-up question based upon the question that my client's already answered. There are no perishable foods being stored on this property, that's correct?
No,
Right.
cassava
So
flour is a
it's
single.
nothing that needs refrigeration, we're not proposing any refrigeration,
No,
anything like that for that, so you're not preparing any product on
No,
site?
no.
There are no perishable products
No,
on site?
no.
Everything's basically dry goods, right?
yeah, so it's a non-perishable, single ingredients dry food. There's no ingredients mixed in it. It's made strictly from cassava roots. And it's dried and it's blended into powder and shipped here.
Thank you.
Can I just be clear on the commercial aspect of the mixed-use building? That also doesn't have a retail feature, or it's not encouraged, it's supplementing the use on the other site? I'm not sure I understand.
So if I may, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. The proposal is the building that currently consists of the two garages side by side. The warehouse that has been described by the witness is located in those two garages right now. It will maintain and continue basically to operate in the same space, but in the new building. That is the commercial use on the bottom. There's only that one use. Obviously, we'll have the architect testify as to what the use is going to look like, and the engineer will discuss the various properties.
Yeah,
of
that's
the
what I was
property.
clarifying. It's
So,
not
right.
open-door retail where we need parking or
The-
concern.
The retail use is in the existing building that we are
Good.
moving the lot line.
Thank you.
That is retail, and that has been retail for as long as my clients have had control of the site, and certainly of this particular building. I just want to note one thing, and one additional question for Mr. Arrow. Right now, if we were to come to the site, we're going to see a storage container that's on the site. that
Yes,
correct? Yeah.
Yes.
It's your intention that once the renovations are all done, that you're not going to need any additional storage outside of the building?
No, the only reason it's there in the first place, I just recently put it there when I thought I was renovating. I didn't know I had to come before the board to do that. So I put it there so I could store the stuff in the garage, because my fear is the garage is going to collapse in a minute now. But once I'm able to fix that, then I'm going to take whatever is supposed to be in the garage back inside and return it.
Just wanted to make the board aware of the fact that you're going to be upgrading the site, and whatever is currently on the site is going to be removed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other board questions? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question Mr. Arrow's testimony? Hearing none, Counselor, your next witness?
My next witness would be Robert Coleman.
Can I ask the witness to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
It is, I do.
And for the record, state and spell your name with your business affiliation.
Robert Coleman, last name spelled Coleman, and I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Coleman, could you please give the board the benefit of your background? I know you've already stated you're a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, but where'd you go to school?
Miami University in Oxford, Ohio,
How many years have you been a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey?
43.
You licensed in any other states?
Pennsylvania, New York, Connecticut, basically the states that cluster around New Jersey.
Mr. Murman, the board will accept his credentials.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Coleman, would you explain to the board what your role has been relative to the design of this project?
Mr. Eros originally contacted me to basically make some drawings for a repair of the two buildings that were on the site, which I did. We met, I believe, with the construction official on the site, and we walked around the building with him, and he looked at it. And there was so much damage to the wall and the footings down at the grade level that it was decided that it would be better for us to just build a new building. And at that time, we decided, well, we'll put some apartments upstairs to have a mixed-use building and some living units upstairs to provide income for the owner and some living units for the neighborhood. And so that went through that design process to get to here today.
You have prepared drawings for this project?
I hope so.
Well, they should be right in front of you. There we go.
Oh, there we are.
There we are. Why don't you let's blow that up so that we get rid of all the nonsense.
Okay. There we are.
You guys can see that on your screen? There we go. Could you just run through this exhibit, identifying it by the page number?
This is page number 1 of 2. You see the top buildings, the top row of buildings here are the front and the rear of this, our proposed building. The right side is the front elevation, which borders Indiana Street. You'll see on the right the overhead door with a man door next to it to get in and out of the warehouse storage work area without having to open the people door or the overhead door. You'll see rows of windows on the second floor, which are the apartments, and they're either in the living room areas or the bedroom areas. To the left on the first floor, you'll see 2 more windows, which are in the work area and office areas, which we have on the first floor, and the entry door right here off Indiana Street. The rear
That
elevation,
entry door that you just identified, that's the entry door for the commercial use? Or is that the entry door for the residential uses? Because there are 2 entry doors on that
that the
side of
door
the-
on the left is for the, you'll see here, that's the entry door for the lobby for Mr. Aros's business, which comes into a lobby, a little conference area. a barrier-free ADA compliant bathroom and his little office in the back. Looking here, as long as I'm on this sheet, this is the entrance to the apartments, which is off the left rear corner near the parking areas and the parking spaces, which comes up this side, and you'll see 3 two-bedroom apartments here with living area, which would have a dining area, living room furniture, and a small kitchen, and 2 bedrooms, and each of the units basically would consist of a living area with a kitchen in it, like this one right here, small kitchen, bathroom, 2 bedrooms with closets, and the areas are inside the living units. They're all There are 3 apartments, roughly the same size, 2 bedrooms, kitchen, bathroom, living, dining room area.
Can you give us an estimate or the exact sizes of those bedrooms? I'm sorry, not the bedrooms, but the apartments themselves?
Let's see. Forgive me, I'm not using, oh, there it is, right here. It's right under the word second floor. The first unit is 674 square feet. Second unit is 799 square feet. And the third unit is 680 square feet.
Thank you. The residential uses and the commercial use, is there any connecting door between the 2 uses, or is it totally
No.
segregated?
There's a separate entrance to the second floor living area, which is, again, off that left rear corner, and it doesn't connect at all to the commercial warehouse use at all. They each have separate entries.
Could you describe a little of the look of the building and what type of materials that you're proposing this building be constructed of?
The first floor, which is a commercial use, will be a concrete block, which will either be regular block with a masonry paint or a split-face block, which has that look of stone on it. And the second floor would be a frame done in siding, probably a vinyl siding or a hardy plank, depending on the availability of the colors. And I propose to use earth tone colors on the block, the siding, and the roof, which would be tan, dark gray, slate-colored colors.
Now, this is a residential block.
The masonry block?
No, I'm talking about the block itself, the surrounding neighborhood. right?
Okay,
How do those colors that you just proposed work with the neighborhood?
as I recall the neighborhood from the time I was there are earth tone colors in the neighborhood. There's some grays, some light blues, white, a lot of white. Front porches is predominantly two-family houses, 2-family houses, 2 stories. And they're basic houses that you see in this area.
All right. I have no further questions of Mr. Coleman at this time. Mr. Chairman, I will reserve my right to ask additional questions based upon other questions to the witness.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Coleman's testimony?
I do have a question. One, have you seen the comments coming from the fire department?
Yes, I have, right here. Sprinkler system will be put in the building, that's not a problem. I'll put the fire department connection, probably maybe this big space between the window and the garage door. It's a lot of space there for them to get to. It'll be very obvious there. It'll be labeled as required by the fire code and the fire department. We will supply a fire alarm system laid out and designed by a fire alarm specialist. That's not a problem. I will also be supplying floor plans to those professionals for them to do their work. The knockbox, again, will be laid out and labeled on the plans. The electric vehicle charging station and the EV fire blank, I suppose those are more of the site plans, so he labels them out in the parking area where they can be reached by the appropriate car, and the space would be labeled and with signage. Um, that's no problem.
And in terms of heating and cooling, what are you proposing? And the concern is if it's a combined unit, where would the compressors go? Are they going to be on the side of the building, the back of the building? And I know I haven't seen a site plan, so maybe they're identified there.
Well, I can take the HVAC units. I'd probably use a heat pump so we don't have to have gas meters or oil, because they're getting very efficient now. I've used them on a number of cases. As far as the outside units go, if they're not on the site
On the
plan,
wall, we just don't know, because
I know I can
don't
build
see
a little recess that's hidden by the pitch of the roof and put them on the roof. And then access them from the hallway that goes between the units upstairs. That's not a problem. They're not big units like they used to be.
I think the concern, if I may, Mr. McNeil, the concern of the board is whether or not they're going to be seen or whether or not they're going to be hidden either on the roof or behind the building. Which would you think would be the...
Well, they'll be completely hidden if I can build a recess up on the roof. You won't see them from the street at all.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Mr. Johnson?
I'm sure there are two stairways, but you only mentioned one stairway to get upstairs. Is there
A
another
building this
stairway?
size and height, I only need one.
Pardon me?
I only need one stair in a building this size and height. It's only 2 stories. And of course, all the windows will be egress windows as required.
If I can interpret again, we're building this building to fire code. Fire
building will
code does
be
not
built to
require
fire code.
more than one...
It does not require more than one stairway in a building this height.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Any other questions from the board members? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony of Mr. Coleman? Hearing none, Counselor?
Thank you. At this time, I would call our our engineer, Joe Bocci of EKA.
Good evening. Mr. Bocci, can I ask you to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes, sir.
And for the record, just state and spell your name with your affiliation.
Joseph Bacci, B-A-C-H-I. I'm with EKA Associates, 328 Park Ave, Scotch Plains, New Jersey.
Thank you.
Mr. Bocci, could you give the board the benefit of your educational and professional background?
Sure. Graduate of Rutgers University with a BS in Civil Engineering. I've been licensed since 2017. I've appeared before this board before, many others throughout the state.
We'll accept Mr. Bocci's credentials. He's been here before.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bocci, could you explain what your role was relative to this project that's being presented?
Yeah, I'm the principal engineer for this project, oversaw the design and drafting of this.
Right. That's your site plan that's up there?
Yes.
Great. That's already been marked as A1, so why don't you run through the site plan, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some more specifics.
Sure. So starting with the cover sheet, this is sheet 1. I'll just direct your attention to the zoning map in the middle, just to set the scene of where we are within Union. You can see we're right on the edge, the border with Maplewood, on the corner of Indiana and Laurel Avenue. Again, the site consists of lot 54 and 52. you're bound to the north, as I mentioned, by Laurel Ave and, like I said, right on the edge of town. To the east of by Indiana, and then south and west residential properties. I'm going to go.
Joe, before you leave that, could you, with the cursor, could you show the board on the radial map the approximate location of where the garage units are that we've been talking about, so the board gets a flavor from this bird's eye view?
Yeah, from the bird's eye, they straddle the property line in this. I can't really make it's oriented more.
Right, but somewhere about where that just popped up with a rectangle right there? That's the
Roughly.
approximate location, right? So the line's going right down the middle of the existing structure?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good segue. I'll go to the survey now. It's the last sheet in the set, and we can look at it in a little bit more detail. So again, you have lot 54 to the north, lot 52 to the south here, and you can see the existing property line separating these two goes right through where the garages are located currently. Lot 54, roughly rectangular in shape, a little bit of an arc up to the north here. An approximate area of 4,880 square feet. That's an existing nonconformity. 5,000 square feet is required. As you can see, there's not much to the site. It has, again, the existing one-story garage, an existing one-story building, which takes up a majority of the site, and then some paved areas in between those buildings to the north and along the sides here. On lot 52 to the south here, again, you have the one-story garage on this site. Nearly almost the entirety of the remaining site is paved. There is a shipping container on site currently that's temporary storage, so that will be removed. I'll go into that a little bit more later. In terms of grading, both sites, not too steep, but steep enough to direct stormwater off. So it kind of slopes down both sites towards Indiana Street. There are a number of existing nonconformities: lot size, width, depth, front yard, side yard setbacks. I'll go into them a little more as I talk about the proposed conditions. I'm going to move to sheet 2 of this set, which is the subdivision plan. A little too far. And again, not a complicated proposed subdivision. I highlighted the existing property line previously, which is right here, kind of in the middle of the site. The subdivision itself really just consists of pushing this property line up about 35 feet and placing it here. So that'll create lot 5401, again, somewhat, generally rectangular in shape. And then proposed lot 5201 will be this L-shaped. Going over it with my cursor here. Lot 5201 will be in conformance with lot size, approximate area of 7,198 square feet. Proposed lot 5401 will be undersized. Currently we are making a little bit smaller, 3,179 square feet. I'm going to move to sheet 3, our site plan. As applicant and Mr. Merman stated, proposed lot 5401, which contains the existing bakery, really nothing going on there of consequence. Nothing with the building is changing. The only changes is adding 2 employee parking spaces in the rear of the building and relocating some AC units to accommodate that. So currently no parking on lot 5401. We are adding 2 spaces. So while we are underparked there, existing and in the proposed condition, we are improving the situation.
Joe, let me stop you right there. Is this going to require a curb cut, a new curb cut?
Yeah, there is a new curb cut proposed as well for those 2 parking spaces. Moving down to the meat of the application is the focus on proposed lot 5201. That's where we have shown, we'll go over with my cursor, but you can see here is where the proposed two-story mixed-use building will be. Ancillary to that is a proposed parking lot, total of 6 spaces, including 1 EV parking space, so credit for 7 spaces. 1 handicap, of course, as well. So it's these 4 spaces here, and then 2 parallel spaces here. We did include a trash enclosure. We have proposed vinyl fence around the sides of the property in this area. Again, another curb cut. So existing, the sidewalk, this was pointed out in the engineer's letter as well. I'll just address this. The sidewalk's in a little bit of disarray, the curb and sidewalk, so we have no problem. Your engineer asked us to fix those sidewalks, no problem doing that. And that goes along with our proposed curb cuts and modifications we're proposing on the sidewalk to accommodate that.
As far as the footprint of the new building is concerned, is that the same footprint of the existing structure, or is it larger?
They are similar. It is, bear with me. So right now, building coverage, well, it changes because the lots are changing. So square footage wise, they are very, very similar. You can see the background existing garages behind there. So it's nearly a perfect fit. I will touch on the variances. So for lot 5401, just to lay them out, we do have a rear yard setback of 10.76 feet. This side, the requirement is 25 feet. We are seeking relief there. Building coverage on this lot, we're proposing 61.02%. 40% is required, but currently they're at 67.31%. Lot coverage for this lot, 99.33 proposed, 97.4 existing, with 60% maximum. And as I mentioned, we are seeking relief for parking. There's no parking now. We are proposing 2 spaces. Lot 5201, in terms of the variances, the depth remains the same at 96 feet. Front yard setback of 4.4 feet. It's 5.76 existing with 25-foot minimum required. Side yard setback, we are getting it off the side yard a little bit right now. The garage touches the side yard. We are increasing that to 1 foot. Lot coverage proposed 89.17 versus 60 allowed, but currently at 96.87%. There are a number of waivers regarding parking. Parking setback from the building, we're proposing 4 feet in this area. 10 foot is required. 4.8 feet from the street, we are proposing 10 foot's required. Property line as well, 4.8 feet. We're proposing 10 required. And setback from residential zone, 0.93 feet versus 10 feet. That's currently parking lot back there, so that's very similar to the existing condition. Let me see. I think I covered most of the improvements. I did leave out, we are replacing, I mentioned the lot coverage is going down. You can see the hatched areas in the rear here and on the sides. That's paved areas that are being converted to grassed or landscaped areas, so we're reducing impervious coverage by about 500 square feet. Around the building, we have a concrete walk. I think I mentioned the trash enclosure, parking. I think that generally covers the site improvements. Going to the next sheet, the grading plan. Not too much going on here. We're maintaining existing drainage patterns, getting the water off from the parking lot onto the street in both cases. So it'll be from this location on site off to the street, likewise from the back of the parking lot towards the street, and no proposed changes to the north up here. And I mentioned we're reducing impervious coverage, so no stormwater management is proposed. We'll be improving that situation. Last sheet I'll talk about lighting and landscaping. I mentioned we're adding some landscaped areas. We just have typical ground cover and foundation plantings in the front of the building here, make it look nice. Grassed area adjacent to the parking lot back here in the rear. We have 2 building-mounted lights proposed on the 2-story mixed-use building that will illuminate the sidewalk and this portion of the parking lot. We have a freestanding light in the rear over here to illuminate the remainder of the parking lot, and 1 wall-mounted light between the 2 buildings to illuminate the area of employee parking. There was another comment in the engineer review letter that there was a little bit too much light going off-site. I didn't see that, but I'm happy to work with you to resolve that issue. We'll make sure that there's no excess spillage to the neighboring properties. That really concludes my rundown of the plans.
So you've already made references to the Collier's report. Is there any issue with complying with all the requirements that are set forth in it?
No issue there. Likewise with the comments from the fire department, no issue. They had some comments about the EV being protected, being away from the building. No issue complying with that.
Let's talk about the parking for a minute. How many parking spaces are proposed?
We have a total of 6 physical spaces, 1 being EV, so counts for 7.
And that's satisfactory under the terms of the ordinance as far as parking for the residential uses only? We're not talking about the commercial uses, but the residential uses?
That would cover the residential uses, yes.
And for the commercial uses, there also a separate parking requirement under the ordinance?
Yes, there is.
And that would be?
So we had a different calculation than the board engineer. The board engineer determined 14 total spaces, and then again, this is just for lot 5201. So he determined 14. You heard the client's testimony, though. It's just him that works there. So I think those calculations are obviously generalized, X amount of square feet, you need X amount of spaces, but he's already testified that he's the only employee there. So I don't see an issue with parking on site, given those facts.
And we'll leave it to our planner to justify the variance, but there is a variance that's being requested for the number of parking spaces on this site as well. Is there also a variance for the number of parking spaces associated with the bakery use at 90 Laurel?
Yes.
How many spaces required? How many spaces do we have?
I believe it's 8 required, 2 proposed, 0 existing.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions of this witness at this time. I reserve my right to ask additional questions based upon questions of the board, public, and professionals. Thank you.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Bocci?
Yeah, I do. I see that we provide for handicap, at least 1 space for handicap parking. Is that for the commercial use, or is that for the residential use?
It's just for the site itself. So we don't differentiate.
Because the apartments is on the 2nd floor, and they're not handicap accessible.
That's a good point.
So, is that still in compliance?
Yeah, I mean, it does sound a little counterintuitive, but it's a requirement to have ADA space.
And how do we propose, I mean, that area is very condensed in terms of the housing. So when you drive up and down Laurel and you go down any of these streets, there's hardly any parking spaces. How do you intend, I know that he's the only employee, but when he starts this new venture, you may have people coming in wanting to pick up their product. How do you propose those people are going to park?
My understanding is that won't be the case, that he doesn't have, no retail component. My understanding is the clients aren't coming to his, they're, I guess, a distributor, you might say. So they're taking it in and they're wholesaling it. On top of that, if you saw, the architectural plans, there is in terms of managing, inventory and everything, there's dedicated loading within the building itself.
So I know that's gonna be all internet-based sales and the like, but somebody's gotta pick it up and take it somewhere, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that would affect parking, because there's the dedicated loading inside, so I think he coordinates pickup.
So they'll
If it's a
pull
truck-
in, they'll pull
Yeah.
into the facility, get loaded and pull out.
Correct, yes.
And the parking lot's also available for that, Mr. McNeil, not only inside the building, but the parking lot would be available for that type of thing. If the truck was blocking part of the street, it would be able to pull into the parking area. They do their business. By the time everybody comes home from work, the truck's going to be gone.
Is there entry from the parking lot into the retail area?
It's not a retail area, Mr. McNeil, I'm sorry.
Not retail, not retail.
The applicant wouldn't have any objection to making sure we characterize that limited feature for the commercial uses, because I too raised the retail concern with the lack of parking in the area, so as
No,
long
we-
as
we-
that's the way the record's going in, I don't want to lose control of the site. Should he get successful or some new user come in 5 years from now and realizes it has a big walk-up and retail feature, we want him to be successful, but this model is the way you're proposing to get the variance relief, both the parking and the use aspect, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Pansulo. I haven't specifically discussed that with our client, but I don't believe that it's going to be an issue.
Are there any other board members with questions for Mr. Bocci? Hearing none, are there any members of the public that would like to question Mr. Bocci's testimony? Hearing none, Counselor?
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would like to call Nicholas Graviano, licensed professional planner.
Mr. Graviano, can I ask you to swear or affirm that the testimony you provide this evening is the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
And state and spell your name for the record and your affiliation.
Yes, my first name is Nicholas with an H, last name Graviano, G-R-A-V as in Victor, I-A-N-O. I am a planner and partner with Graviano and Gillis Architects and Planners with a business address of 101 Crawford's Corner Road in Holmdel, New Jersey.
Let me cut to the chase for the chairman and board and your counsel. Has there been any change in your credentials since you were qualified here last week as a planner?
I thought it was last month.
We'll accept Mr. Graviano's, we'll accept his credentials.
Thanks for having me, always a pleasure being here.
All right. Nick, could you tell the board and describe the neighborhood and the zoning, and why is this an appropriate use?
Certainly. As the board is familiar with this site, the professionals before me did a great job describing the site as well as the surrounding neighborhood. This is essentially a corner location where the bakery is located on the corner. The applicant's specialty food operation is located behind the bakery on Indiana. Indiana is a mixture of predominantly residential uses, ranging everything from single-family to multifamily uses. There's single-family homes, two-family homes, 3- and 4-family apartment buildings. So there's a wide range of residential uses on Indiana. This site is located in the RB district. The applicant is before the board this evening because, one, there is a subdivision to the existing bakery property, which is reducing the property size. That triggers a D2 expansion of a non-conforming use variance because that property is getting smaller. You heard the rationale for that subdivision. It's to clean up the site as well as to provide off-street parking for the existing bakery use. The applicant is requesting the D1 use variance for proposed lot 54.01 because the applicant is proposing to take the existing non-conforming commercial use, the wholesale food operation, and making that a mixed-use building where that will house the food operation as well as 3 two-bedroom apartments, as you heard Mr. Coleman go into detail before. That is a use variance because that use is not permitted in the zoning district. I'll touch on the bakery site first, proposed lot 54.01, which requires the D2 variance for the expansion of non-conforming use. When you look at a D2 variance, the applicant must demonstrate that this proposal makes this use more acceptable in its particular setting. And you heard some of the reasons why the subdivision is being conducted. One, it's eliminating a very unusual lot line configuration that's split through buildings that are dilapidated and needed demolition. And secondly, the applicant is now providing off-street parking for such use where there is no off-street parking in this current situation. So certainly that is an improvement to the site and makes this proposal more acceptable in its setting. It is a corner location that has accommodated a retail commercial use, the bakery. So certainly this area has a history of the bakery being on that site, and the improvement of the parking situation will certainly be of benefit to the community. There's no substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance with this proposal. This use exists today. Additionally, you heard Mr. Bocci go into detail. The applicant does require lot area, lot depth, rear yard setback, building coverage, lot coverage, and parking relief. As I stated before, the parking is an improvement. All those variances can be granted under the C2 criteria, whereas it relates to a specific piece of property. Here you have an existing commercial building. Additionally, it advances purposes of zoning A, G, and I. A, in that it promotes the public health, safety, morals, and welfare by bringing it more into conformity with the township's parking regulations. Additionally, sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of commercial uses. Corner locations have been historically the site of neighborhood retail and small-scale commercial uses. And then lastly, it's good civic design and arrangement, criteria I, to promote the off-street parking on the site. As to proposed lot 52.01, which will be the mixed-use building, when it comes down to it, this is a zone that allows two-family dwellings. The commercial operation has been existing on the site for quite some time. The applicant provided testimony that he's been on the property for 8 years now, from 2016. So you're really looking at the one additional use when the one additional unit when it all boils down to it. But I think when Mr. Bocci showed his engineering plan, this is a footprint of a new building, which is pretty much the exact location of the building that sits there today. And when you look at the streetscape, I've had a chance to be on this street on 2 separate occasions, once over the weekend and once before the hearing tonight. This eliminates a building that now has 2 buildings that now has 4 garage doors, is replacing it with a building with only 1 garage door. Additionally, the applicant's provision of the residential dwelling units gives it a building that's in character with the residential nature of the neighborhood. This is a building which is very consistent looking with a residential dwelling, whether it's a single-family dwelling or a one-family dwelling. So when you look at the criteria for the use variance, you look at in particular cases and for special reasons. That's the positive criteria of the variance. This site is particularly suited for the mixed-use building. 1, it currently houses a commercial use. 2, it's located in a residential neighborhood which consists of numerous multifamily dwellings. Additionally, this use variance supports the purposes of zoning A, G, and I, as with the other lot with the bakery. In relation to purpose A, promotion of public health, safety, morals, and welfare, 2 very poor condition structures are being replaced with a new building that's being constructed according to modern building codes. The neighborhood's certainly appropriate for this proposed mixed use. Purpose G, providing sufficient space and appropriate location for commercial and residential uses to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens. And then lastly, this proposal certainly promotes a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement by eliminating those 4 separate garage doors, making a building that's more in character with the neighborhood, and providing a very small-scale commercial use which exists today to service a very, very limited section of the community as a whole. This is a very limited operation that serves a very limited community as a whole. I certainly do not see any substantial detriment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance with this proposal. And the C variances being requested with the application relate to the setbacks as well as the parking. The applicant is requiring front yard setback, side yard setback, lot coverage, and the parking variance as we discussed. With relation to the parking, the applicant has the ability to provide each residential dwelling unit its own space, as well as providing 3 additional spaces for the commercial use. You heard the applicant's operational characteristics. There is only 1 employee on site, but there is also additional parking on hand for any potential visitors. So the D and C variances for both the bakery site and the proposed mixed-use building site meet the positive and negative criteria for the approval.
I have no further questions of Mr. Graviano, reserving my right to ask additional questions based upon the board or the public's questioning.
Are there any board members that would like to question Mr. Graviano's testimony?
I just have one, and it's more of a clarification for my purposes. I've heard the term bakery, and now I'm hearing the term, but the owner had implied that he doesn't bake anything there, he only sells.
I will answer that.
Okay.
The bakery use is the front use, 90 Laurel. That's that use, that separate use, which used to be a convenience store. It's been a bakery. Mr. Manguso gave a zoning permit to operate as a bakery, I think it was almost a year ago. So that site has been operating and operational as a bakery. And though the commercial unit that we're talking about now is basically the warehouse storage use that's been described with the office that is now replacing the 2 garages. So the bakery use, separate, that's on the front lot. I think that's 54.01 as we've identified it. 52.01 is the newly created lot with the mixed-use building and the parking lot, all on 1 lot.
Are there any other board members with questions? Hearing none. Are there any members of the public that would like to question the testimony Mr. Graviano has given?
Thank you, Board.
Hearing none. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this application? Hearing none. Mr. Member, would you like to sum up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I stated at the very beginning of this hearing, this is a well-designed project. I know it's a well-designed project because I was in on the design meetings. This is not the first set of plans that we reviewed to bring this before the board. We know that what we're doing here is an upgrade to this neighborhood. We also know that what this is providing is 3 units of absolutely necessary housing. We all understand the housing crisis that we have here in New Jersey, and there are apartments going up all over. And this will provide additional apartments, small apartments, basically affordable units when it comes right down to it, serving this community and allowing people to stay in the community who want to stay in the community. The negative impacts are minimal based upon the existence of the use and the fact that the residential units and the commercial units are going to basically be operating at different times. We expect that the parking lot will be full in the evening, and then during the day it'll only have Ben's car there and potentially whatever other vehicles are necessary to come in. It's nice to know that the UPS truck can turn around in the parking lot and not have to try to turn around in the street. So all in all, I think this is a fantastic project, and we believe we met our burdens of proof, and we're asking the board to approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll conference this. Mr. Wiley, would you like to begin? Ms. Scott?
Yes, good evening. I will agree with my colleague. I thought it was a pretty clean application. The professionals did a good job of explaining it. The fact that you're upgrading the property, I do agree there's a housing shortage, but I also think that sometimes these units that go up may not necessarily be affordable. So I think you should keep that in mind, the community that you'll be, attracting. So I would also be voting yes.
Mr. McNeil?
I would also agree with my colleagues that the application is clean, and I would agree that it would be a substantial improvement to that corner, one that travels up and down that road all the time. I think it would be an improvement, and it would outweigh the negative criteria. So I too would be voting yes.
Ms. Martins?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After hearing the testimony that was provided tonight, and comparing what's currently on the lot versus what was proposed tonight, this is definitely an improvement to the site and definitely to the neighborhood, so I will be voting yes.
Mr. Graves?
I'm supportive of the application since it's providing affordable housing units with off-street parking.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I agree with my colleagues. It was a very good presentation tonight, and I don't think it's a detriment to the neighborhood. I think it's an asset. It'll get rid of those crummy-looking garages and provide some housing for the area also. So I will vote yes.
Mr. Benavegna?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the testimony, I think it's a good application. I also like to add, the renovations proposed tonight will be an enhancement to the property and the neighboring area. I also see no negative impact, and I will be voting yes tonight.
As for myself, I find this to be a very positive application. The applicant proposes to upgrade and improve the property with the proposed structure. It's a nice-looking structure. The variances requested will not have a negative impact on the property or the neighboring property owners. Therefore, I too will vote yes for this application. May I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board grant the technical to this application, the council is directed to prepare a resolution consistent with the board's decision.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Wiley?
Yes.
Ms. Martins?
Yes.
Mr. Benavegna?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. McNeil?
Yes.
And Mr. Champe?
Yes.
We'll put the agenda for September 25th of the resolution of approval.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, there being no further business coming before the board, I move that we adjourn.
Second motion.
All in favor? Opposed? So moved.